Dear participants, I'm just called upon Mr. Sunday, presenter Mr. Sunday Aguora, on the topic, presenting topic, evaluation of perception towards capacity building programs and workforce skills in HIV/AIDS supply chain management in Nigeria. I welcome Mr. Sunday Aguora to present the topic in this TWS conference.
All right, so my presentation is on evaluation of, again, I'm speaking on the evaluation of perception towards capacity building programs and workforce skills in HIV supply chain management in Nigeria. I carried out this work in collaboration with Professor Azoka Opara, Dr. Okechukwu EC, Dr. Sonai JS. Basically, we have the figure one here is the World Health System Framework. According to WHO 2007 and USAID 2015A, the health system basically entails the system building blocks, the of them, their multiple relationships and interactions. And so for every health system, for the health system to deliver on both the intermediate and the overall goals, then it means that the system building blocks of the health system need to be strong. And these system building blocks are leadership, governance, healthcare financing, health workforce, medical products, vaccines, technology, information research, and service delivery. And according to WHO 2007, access, coverage, quality, and safety are classified as intermediate goals, whereas improved health, responsiveness, financial risk protection, and improved efficiency are classified as the overall goals of the health system. So all health system strengthening interventions affect the entire system, not just one part of the system. And studies have shown that more attention is needed to be given to workforce development and supply management, which is our interest in this research work. According to Sukat and Skeffler 2013, they reported that investment in the supply chain workforce will be a worthwhile and effective strategy to improve the overall efficiency of health system and services. So 1.2 is a building block framework. The building block framework is the best way to illustrate the system thinking for health system strengthening. So the problem. So basically, health remains the major challenge in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. This is according to the work done by Adeloye 2017 in Nigeria. Another work followed suit in 2019 by Wande Tao, and that work reported a critical shortage of workforce, including the supply chain workforce. This is a key effective provision of service and improved health. There is a rising need to address the supply chain system. This is according to the work of Kometo et al. 2014. In some instances,
Mr. Sunday?
dedicated and competent. You also find out that in some instances we lack dedicated and competent supply chain personnel, and in some places also the role that is supposed to perform by supply chain personnel are performed by clinicians, pharmacists, technicians, or nurses. All right, methods. We use a cross-sectional observational design, and this study, of course, was carried out in Abuja. Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, and it is the head office of most of the supply chain organizations. And basically, they all carry out their supply chain and HIV/AIDS related activities from Abuja across the country. So it makes sense to actually have this work conducted in Abuja. The sample size for this work was determined using Cochrane's formula for determining appropriate sample size for infinite population. It was not possible for us in the course of this study to determine the exact number of supply chain workforce across in the system. And so the best way to go about it, because we last such updated directory of the workforce directly, the best way to approach it was to use the Cochrane formula for calculating infinite sample size for infinite population. And the sample size for this work was 384. We also added a 10% average, and the basic to bring it to 422. And the basic reason for this approach is to ensure that we take care of possible dropouts, we take care of incomplete and late responses, and we take care of no response. And at the end of the day, we should be able to still be at least at the minimum sample size required for this research work. Sampling techniques that was employed is a simple sampling technique using a sampling interval of 2. While collecting data for this research work, we made a decision over who should be included and who should not be included. And the criteria was clear, as well as the variables that the research work was going to be measuring. In respect to the variable, we did consider the social demographic characteristics of the workforce. We also consider the perceptions towards capacity building programs, as well as perceptions towards workforce skills in HIVAIDS supply chain management. In terms of inclusion criteria, those who were included in this study were those who have spent a minimum of 2 years in their HIVAIDS organization or supply chain organization, those who have at least a minimum of bachelor's degree or its equivalent. And so it's actually a study that covers literate group. And those who participated in the pilot study for this study were not included in the actual study. And those who declined to read and signed the informed consent form were also excluded. There were also people that on their willingly said they were not interested, and such individuals were excluded. And if you were also a supply chain workforce, but you are not working, you are not in HIVAIDS system, then you are also excluded. So people in malaria, people in tuberculosis, TB and tuberculosis program, people in our family planning, other health, public health programs, we are not excluded. So it was typically of those who are working in the HIVAIDS supply chain system. We used a structured self-completion questionnaire. Again, I said this questionnaire was field tested and to confirm its effectiveness and suitability for this research. We made the effort to control social response bias in the course of carrying out this work, as well as construct and content validity. We obtained the ethical approval to carry out this work, and what you are seeing in the screen is the ethical approval number. Of course, for this to happen, we were required by the law to carry out some courses, online courses, and show evidence that we've done that and passed those courses. Some of these courses were Nigerian National Code for Health Research Ethics and Human Research Group 5 basic course. Participation for this research work was voluntary, and identity effort was made to keep the identity confidential. We did explain the purpose of the study and the questionnaire to every participant before they accepted or declined to participate. Respondents also were aware that they are free to drop from this study or withdraw from this study without consequences at any point in time during the course of the study. Respondents were required to tick the options that best agrees with their answers. And I want to point out also that all items were responded to on a Likert scale of 5-point scale, 1 to 5. In carrying out data analysis for this, we did the questionnaire that we received at the end of the research were checked for completeness, accuracy, and consistency. We did number them serially, we coded them, and then captured them on Excel template. And the entries in this Excel template will as well rechecked for accuracy. And when we were satisfied with that entry was when we continued to carry out a reliability and inferential analysis using the SPSS version 20.0. We also carried out descriptive statistics and results were presented in tables and charts. Also, we involved discussions with various in-country stakeholders. These are some of the results from the work. Looking at this result, this particular result, the very figure 1.3 here, talks about the level of HIV/AIDS supply chain work. And it's clear from this that state and national level are where we have the majority of the participants or majority of the respondents for this study. The descriptive statistics, respondents were actually from the key sectors of the health of key sectors of engagement: public, private, state-based organization, non-governmental organization, donor agencies, where the respondents were drawn from. And these are basically the key sectors of engagement in HIV/AIDS supply chain management. Most of them were in the rank of managers, supervisors, specialists, advisors, and officers. And their age bracket was, we had an age bracket between 30 and 59 years, years of experience between 8 and 15 years, and more than half with master's degree as their highest educational qualification. When we did, the mean score gave a range of 3.455 to 3.695 and a standard deviation of 0.645 to 0.889. Again, if you recall, this is on a 1 to 5 scale, and this is, of course, an excellent mean result. Reliability analysis, Kronberg alpha for perception towards capacity building is 0.886, which shows a high level of reliability. And the perception towards workforce is 0.07. Inferential statistics shows that age, years of experience, and job title have an effect on the perception of workforce skills in supply chain management. Results and discussion. Again, the perception towards capacity building program. The following were the perception of the respondents towards capacity building program. We did find out that training alone is not enough to change practice. And the respondents also showed that even when training those changes are not sustainable. Additional interventions are required to reinforce training as a behavioral change. When training most times is 1 or 2 people that are trained, but the actual implementation involves narrative, and that's very important to take note of. Capacity building programs should be cost effective and conducted with minimal disruption to service delivery and result in practice change. This and more training will address the workforce capacity issues in HIV/AIDS supply chain system. These findings were in agreement with previous work by Kafol et al. 2005, Obua et al. 2004, and Grimshaw et al. 2004. Previous studies reported an established relationship between training and employee performance. And this is what Comba 2012 found out. And this also agrees with the work of Seed and ASHA 2012. Perception of workforce skills in HIV/AIDS supply chain management. These were the findings from the research. Skilled workforce is an important part of functional HIV/AIDS supply chain. Skilled workforce contributes to health system strengthening, and skilled workforce is vital for improving health outcomes and achieving health. This agrees with previous work by Frank 2010 and Lederman et al. 2010, to mention but a few. Shortage of manpower at the subnational level and inadequate workforce is the most important problem of Nigerians' HIV/AIDS supply chain. This is in agreement with work of Etiola and Ago 2018, Adekola and Adelinwa 2014, Matovie et al. 2011, France 2010. It also found out that capacity gaps at the national there exists a capacity gap at the national and the state level, and this agrees with the work of WHO 2011 and the report of Kometo et al. 2014. We also found that improved capacity of workforce will ensure reliable supply chain for essential HIV/AIDS commodities. This agrees with the work of Institute of Medicine 2013. This is cross-section of the references. The request was for us to highlight just 5 key references, and that's what we have here. Conclusion. Perception towards towards capacity building revealed that existing perceptions are a reflection of the reality of capacity building programs. Perceptions towards workforce skills in supply chain management entails a good understanding of HIV/AIDS supply chain. Those in the rank of managers and directors with less than 8 years of experience and below the age of 40 years had a better perception towards workforce skills in HIV/AIDS supply chain management. Future steps. Strengthening future steps. The literature on strengthening human resources in health supply chain. This research will also inform strategy to improve HIV/AIDS supply chain workforce effectiveness and performance. And also, this research will stimulate further research towards identifying workforce capacity problems and causes in other public health supply chains, even using larger sample size. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Sunday, for your presentation.